Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Grace, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the similarities and differences between the languages Cantonese and Mandarin. If this is your first time on my channel, then my name is Grace. Hi, and I like to learn languages, and I'm learning Cantonese and Mandarin, which are two Chinese languages. And so there's a lot of talk about, which is more difficult, how similar they are, stuff like that, because Mandarin is the biggest language spoken in China, and then straight after that, right after that is Cantonese. And so I just wanted to talk about my experience with learning the two. Maybe you want to learn a Chinese language, you don't know which to learn, you want to know which is harder, or maybe you're just curious as to how similar they are. I just want to say, so I am not a native speaker, and I also haven't finished my studies, so everything that I'm saying in this video is just things that I have noticed and also some of the research that I've done. But if any of it is incorrect, if you are Chinese or a native speaker and you found that some of the stuff I'm saying isn't really, maybe it's a little bit wrong, or maybe I haven't really worded it right, then definitely comment down what I should have said or what's correct. So Mandarin and Cantonese are two Chinese languages. Some people say that Cantonese is a dialect of Mandarin, and to be honest, that kind of annoys me when I hear that, because I just think that they aren't. I mean, they do share the same language system, but they're mutually unintelligible. So that means that if a Mandarin speaker was speaking to a Cantonese speaker, like they wouldn't understand each other just by speech, but they would by writing. We will talk about that later. But in China, there are over 300 different languages. When people say Chinese, they are usually referring to Mandarin, but Chinese isn't really accurate because there's Mandarin, Cantonese, Shanghainese, Fujianese, so many different Chinese languages. And so if you're talking about Chinese language, it's better to say the language instead of just saying Chinese. So both languages use standard written Chinese, which means that basically they write the same way. And so every character will have a Mandarin reading and a Cantonese reading. And so even though they use the same characters, they're pronounced differently. The thing that makes Cantonese a little bit more difficult is that it has written and spoken. So when you're writing Cantonese, you write in standard Chinese, and in Mandarin, that's the same as what you say. For example, if you say 你叫什么名字? What is your name? You're gonna write it as that, and you're also gonna say it as that, which is 你叫什么名字? In Cantonese, if you were to write what is your name, you'd write those same characters, which is said as 你叫什么名字? However, if you were speaking, you wouldn't say that. You would say 你叫咩名? So as you can see, some of the characters change when it comes to spoken Cantonese. When it comes to books, news, any formal document, signs, anything like that, it's all going to be written in standard Chinese. However, when you're speaking, you're not going to be speaking that way. You're going to be speaking using different characters and different words. And you can write spoken Cantonese, usually maybe like comics, text, maybe some magazines, but everything formal, books, any kind of literature is going to be written in written Cantonese. So that makes it a bit more difficult, because it's like you're going to learn how to speak, and then when you learn how to write, you're learning different characters, you're learning different words. Some words are the same in spoken and written Cantonese. For example, with the example 你叫什麼名字 and 你叫咩名, 你 and 叫 are the same, right? You and to be called, they're the same in written and spoken, but most words are different. And so this is why Cantonese, spoken Cantonese, is just completely different to Mandarin. So I learned Cantonese, I don't want to say learn, because I'm still learning. I've been learning Cantonese for about maybe 3 years now, and Mandarin I only started 1.5 years ago. So when I started learning Mandarin, I did find that some words did actually sound like Cantonese, and so it really helped me with memorizing the vocabulary because they sounded similar. The words that are the same in spoken and written Cantonese are more likely to sound like the Mandarin counterpart because it's the same character as they use in Mandarin, For example, 菠萝 means pineapple Mandarin, and in Cantonese that's 菠萝. 苹果 is apple in Mandarin, and in Cantonese is 苹果. To be ought to, as in like you should do something, in Mandarin is 应该, and in Cantonese is 应该. Bill in Mandarin is 买单, and in Cantonese is Maidan. So as you can see, some of it sounds really similar. However, there are some words that have the same character, but they just sound completely different. For example, the word for school in Mandarin is 学校, and in Cantonese is 学校. So these are the same characters, but 学校 and 学校 don't really sound that similar. And then you have words that are just completely different. So words that are only specific to spoken Cantonese, you know, words that don't use the same character in Mandarin, that will just sound completely different. And so I don't want to make it seem as if the languages sound really similar, because they are mutually unintelligible. But there are some words that you can hear, even if it's just a little bit, a slight similarity. And I think that definitely helps with memorizing and learning the vocab. And for me, I feel like I can make the connections between like the sounds in Cantonese and Mandarin, so that will help me with learning new words. But there are also so many colloquial phrases and some words that only exist in spoken Cantonese that they don't even have like a character. You can't really write them, or they don't really have an equivalent in Mandarin. So they are quite different, which is why I'd like to stress that they are two languages and that they're not dialects. But there are some similarities when it comes to words and pronunciation. Some people think that Cantonese is harder than Mandarin, and to be honest, I do, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think it's that much harder, but I think it is a little. And that's mainly because Cantonese has 6 tones and Mandarin only has 4. Some people say that Cantonese has 9 tones, but actually the last 3 tones are more like sounds, and their tone is like already exists in the first 6. So I think it's, when you learn Cantonese, you learn 6 tones, you don't learn 9. So 6 tones, but that's still 2 more than Mandarin, because 4 is already a lot, and you know, then you have to learn 6. And there are definitely many sounds that exist in Cantonese but don't exist in Mandarin, or exist in Mandarin but don't exist in Cantonese. So I do feel like Cantonese didn't really help me with Mandarin pronunciation that much, because yeah, they sound really different when spoken. As for the grammar, I definitely feel like the grammar is very similar. There are many aspects of Chinese that are completely different to English, you know, that us English speakers have to wrap our head around. For example, the absence of plural forms, articles, like verb conjugations, tenses, stuff like that. Chinese doesn't really have these things, and so as a learner, learning how Chinese grammar works, learning like the sentence order and stuff like that, I feel like it's the same in Mandarin and Cantonese. So when I was coming to learn Mandarin, a lot of the really basic things that they teach you, I didn't really need to learn, because I already knew from Cantonese. Although the grammar isn't completely the same, there are some words that have different order, and also especially when we get into more complicated grammar, it does differ. But I feel like in terms of the basics, if you know one, it will be very easy to start learning the other, and you'll definitely have a strong foundation already. So I do feel like knowing one definitely helps with learning the other. In general, I feel like Chinese grammar, and when I say Chinese grammar, I know that I said that Chinese isn't a language, but Mandarin and Cantonese grammar and other Chinese languages is fairly simple. It isn't really that complicated in comparison to harder languages like Arabic, Japanese, French, stuff like that. And so I feel like even when we're talking about complicated grammar being different, as long as you know the basics, you'll already be able to start speaking, because there isn't really that much grammar involved when you're speaking. I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't think I'm making sense. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. If there's anything that you feel like I missed, please let me know in the comments below. Or if there's anything that you want to add, comment down below. Let's have a conversation. These are the main differences and similarities that I feel like, exist. I actually didn't plan on learning Cantonese and Mandarin together. I was planning on finishing learning Cantonese and then learning Mandarin, because I didn't want to learn the 2 of them, because I was afraid that I would just get them mixed up and everything. But then I was going to China. I went to China last year, and we are only going to Mandarin speaking places, so I was like, it's a waste to go to the country and not be able to speak the language. So I started learning Mandarin, and now I'm learning them both side by side. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be making more videos like this, and yeah, I will see you guys in my next one. Bye bye.